All right, so I have God of War 1 on, which I think is a good. I mean, I love doing this, and I really don't want to get into the games too deep again because I love the Earth, you know? I really. There's an amazing world game going on there for whatever time I might have left, right? Which is. Could make it more beautiful. Maybe it's eternal, I don't know. So this is really, once again, for the parents, and, thank God I can even say that, right? Wow. Thank God. Holy cow. I hope, right? Not every single thing to explode out, maybe. Is that what that's about? The gospel, right? Is it? Yes, maybe. Maybe. But not all the time. Wow, I'm sorry. Hi. Andrew Joseph Torelli with God of War. Number 1. So, this is one of the best franchises in the history of gaming, okay? There's 7 games, maybe 8 now, right? Because you have 2 on the PSP. And it starts with this one that I didn't like that much. Now, maybe that's because I wasn't mature enough I wasn't ready for it. Maybe it's just that point in time. But let's say mature enough, as I was still very focused on Nintendo games at this point in my life. If a friend sees this, he may remember me banging on the bongos in the basement of the Alverson house. So, where, clearly my dad was like saying, here, you have whatever you need, get married, But it didn't work out like that, I'm the type of guy that I guess has to start from the bottom. But who doesn't? Because then you don't learn anything, He knew that, I assumed. Right, Dad? I love you. So, he was against a lot of the video games in lots of ways. It seemed to be, but he knew I loved them, I assume, because my mom pushed it more. And I guess that's where fights came in, He should be out. But my brain gears off more to, the art and the video games. I can be athletic. People, I could be. And he drilled me a lot on being athletic, which is true. I would dive for the ball. I was pretty good at catching the ball, in my opinion. In my opinion, at least, I had a neighbor who, how you doing? I hope maybe you see this. He was almost pro, and I could keep up with him going to catch, I can't hit. I couldn't hit, though. I'm nearsighted. So I was screwed in that case. When it came to baseball, I couldn't, but because I believe I'm nearsighted because I was more of a studier. Now, people say studying, get hit the textbooks and stuff like that. Sure, yeah, that works for some people, I guess. Then why is every kid on the planet, every men today, we all play video games. We wouldn't have sold billions of copies, right? Or whatever it is, if they weren't popular. If you didn't learn anything from them. Math Blaster comes to mind once again. Okay, Math Blaster is not a great game, but Diablo is. And Diablo is tons and tons of statistics, percentages, and all that. So you can learn math, You just want to learn it this way. And that's really, people know that. And I assume. You go to college, too, if you would like. It's an option, which would be better if you went to college and gained the knowledge from the physical world, which really that's the point of college, right? I hope, and I could be dead wrong, too. Or maybe, a little bit of both, really. And maybe it takes you 7, 8 years to graduate college. But, and if that's the track you're on, then you're a great college student, But if you don't know it all, then it's harder, yeah. So, God of War 1, once again, has great graphics from what I'm looking at now by the gamer Kratos. Big YouTuber, right? Great name. An excellent headlining name. God of War, Greek mythology. How is this not going to hit the fans? And it's strange because I didn't like the game once again. I would rather have played Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, which isn't really a great Donkey Kong game. It proves that how nearsighted I am because I had to stare at the screen, Why do they make Kong so small? It's just interesting. Why? Is Nintendo trying to make us go blind? No, you're just, you're nearsighted or whatever it is. I hope it's just not as bad. I don't want to blow my brain with how bad that could be. With all these words out there, right? But yeah, I would zoom into just to see. I had to see the attention to detail. I had to look at it with the art. It's something my brain kind of is more like microscopic than expanding. I pay attention to the detail. I guess it could be wrong, could be maybe not, maybe other things I'm not sure, but maybe that's why. And ultimately, not exile. I move and things happen and whatever, which is great because that's great. You learn, and that's how I'm starting to believe this is how men study video games. Could be women too, maybe they do, but those textbooks are not entertaining at all. I mean, you can maybe get through, but it just didn't work for me at all. It just didn't work for me at all. It's I I absorb so much more, playing the game, and it's in my brain. So why can't we relay the information that way? And maybe, I guess that's the idea, right? Sorry. Anyway, so once again, I don't. As for the parents, I think they're good. That's up to you. I live at home with my mother. I could be dying, so that's probably, obviously taken with a grain of salt. As far as I know, I'm not on any street drugs at this point, and maybe, hopefully, good things are to come. I don't know. That's, up to the parents, right? So that's, parental guidance is in your hands, and YouTube's and mine. Even so this isn't even explicit at this point, I would say. So at all, no. So it just paves the way, this game, for the rest of the God of Wars. In God of War 2, they pick up a little bit more with the items and stuff like that, and into God of War 3, which I've said many times is a masterpiece game, one of the greatest games of all time. Yada yada yada. The best boss battles. Excellent visuals, beautiful visuals, And then you could go into the 2 on PSP, which I didn't play, which I heard are good as well. They look really good, one more so than the other one, which I believe is Chains of Olympus. I could be wrong. But maybe Ghost of Sparta is interesting as well. Yeah, those are probably cool games. And then God of War 2018, which rocks, because Corey Balrog, or Barlog, or Balrog, I think it's Balrog, because Corey Balrog is from Street Fighter. Corey Barlog, who's I'm a huge fan of, and he's an inspiration, this man. He's excellent, We love Corey. And Corey, wants some peace too, I get that, but he's probably drilled all day long, everyone's playing your game. Kinda, right? It seemed maybe some people pass on, but I don't think so anymore. It's too good of a game, at this point. But it's kind of like more like a trophy piece game in ways, like critically acclaimed, I feel. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, Corey's awesome. Big fan, once again. So, I feel some nerves. I hope he's alright. I'm sad. Wow. And he seems to have pulled off the move mechanics, and that's why there's God of War 2018. Norse mythology, to me, is not as interesting as Greek mythology, and I believe you could really see that with all of us here on the West Coast, Santa Monica Studios. The story just flopped later on, where it was incredible in God of War 3. Then you had Ascension, now remember, and that kind of, I don't know why they took away an Ascension, it seems, but they were onto something with the sub-weapon ideas from Castlevania, which is why, once again, I would love to see Santa Monica do Castlevania. But if they did, I'd be playing video games all day again, right? So, someone's texting me, I think, anyway. This game paves the way for the other God of Wars. God of War 2 is actually more entertaining. Boreas the Northwind comes to mind in God of War 2. The story is there for this. It's good. It's just good, great groundwork. But it all accumulates into God of War 3. Where God of War 2018, it's just all about the combat and the acts, really, in my opinion. Still great games that I could, totally review, This one, things stand out. The chains, but how much more do they rock in 2018? And then in the next God, the axe was wild. And then the spear was great too. They could build a whole system off that system. Dark Souls comes to mind, how they blended everything. Yeah, you can make 40 weapons with special effects, and make a huge RPG out of that system. Which someone will, of course, They find it, and that's the idea, right? But this is basically about God of War, a little bit of the franchise. In the first one, I thought it was a letdown in terms of gameplay. The story wasn't that good to me, but then, it's all builds up into number 3, in my opinion. I feel like I might get some slack for that too. Yeah, I feel that right now. But it's still, it paved the way for number 3. People might not like this, yeah, but it's just, number 3 is the greatest God of War game, in my opinion. And you need number 1 and number 2 for that, so. The head of Medusa, freezing things, that was really cool. I think I would have liked to see that more. This would be a good game to remaster. And it would be an excellent game to remaster, now that I think about it, or remake even. How great would it be to really work on the mechanics of the Medusa head freeze, right? Because there's 4, I forget what they even are at this point, because I didn't get into this one too much. As you may hear, I'm not very interested in God of War number 1. But it'd be nice to really, evolve upon that Medusa head, which is such a huge staple in Greek mythology, in Catholicism, even in religion, perhaps, into faith, into the world, into life, into God, even. The head of Medusa, kind of like when your wife might be mad at you, she's a Medusa, she's Medusa. I gotta get out. I just gotta go, or your mom even, yeah. And that's where that kind of I assume comes from. So Percy should take a look at himself. Yeah. So, but once again, how they could work with that now? When you make a remake or a remake, let's say, how better word for that they should come up with, right? We will, I'm sure there is, or just God of War, whatever remake, right? Okay, and is you keep the story, right? But let's see what the kids could do with it, the youngsters, the younger, or even or the new people, the new generation that weren't strong enough to be in the industry at that point. Maybe we could guide them now. The AI, not the programming and stuff. See what they could do. They could do with it, right? And wow. So that's one of the it would be really, really cool, yeah. I think a Squid or the Spider now as well. That'd be really cool to see that work now with a new Donkey Kong with the manipulation of the webs. But the stone they could really do that and make different levels of the stone effect, maybe, something like that. Like maybe you just could work with that idea, but still keep it God of War 1, the same story, same, and you can switch it around a little bit. Keep the same idea. We don't care. We just want a good game, at the end of the day. So have fun with it, but and it's actually even better though. It reminds me of Diablo 2 Barbarian transition to the Diablo 3 Barbarian. You already have a great setup here. You know what to do. You got the ideas. Now let's work with it and make it better. And we can still use the God of War name. So there's your dream come true right there. Problem is they want to get paid for everybody, But then DoorDash is hiring, I guess, right? But that's training, I assume. Once again, great game to remake here is this one right here. See what they can come up with, Yeah, and then I related Diablo to that. The Barbarian in D2 was kind of passable in my opinion, but still a great character because the leap, and then in D3, but this is just my opinion, it was it was the only character that stood around to the name, right? Barbarian it was the only one, yeah. And it was just deep, better looking, the best one to look at, in my opinion. I had not a cheap computer. My computer wasn't as strong. It was my favorite class in D3. And that's maybe because the groundwork was there from D2, which was the same developer. Now, he stood around, and he really focused on the Barb, which was the best character in Diablo 3, in my opinion. It's, But Diablo 2 was a superior game on paper, statistically, mathematically, which was the failure of 3, Where Diablo 3 was a little bit more action-packed, a little bit more fun even in ways. Where D2 was a drag, but once you got to the paperwork and the tweaking, it rocked, Then D4, I passed on a little bit too. But you got to at a point. You want to be in this beautiful world, See the beautiful lights and the trees and the beautiful woman of your dreams and, the Mary's dream, right?